Tell me the power of that in politics and in the creative space.
Politics doesn't follow culture. Politics doesn't examine the aspirations of the people and pander to those aspirations. So what we have to see is social media changing our culture? No, I don't think it's changing our culture. But I think social media is coming as a point of where we relate to each other will change our culture. I think the great power of social media is the end of the gatekeepers. So now in any one way, right? I was at the Kellogg Business School and I was giving a lecture on social media and I called it Blogistan.
Okay.
Now, the whole idea that the new nations will be nations of ideas.
Right.
Right? And ideas forming, and I'm not saying there'll be permanent formations, but they will be temporarily forming around ideas.
No. Because they can be connected.
Because of connectivity,
because the nature of the medium, it's on the computer, just the practicality of, like, my mother gets confused if she has to use a phone with, touch technology. So just because of the medium, is it that it's just the youth who connect? Like, for example, the Anna movement was one movement where the youth really connected to. You were one of the people who were actively supporting it. But by and large, this is the young people.
Yeah.
So is it just the young ideas that find space in the internet space?
No. I think what happens is, well, one thing certainly happened, that new media provoked old media. So when I would not give an interview, I would tweet, because I would listen to what people were saying. For example, they were saying, well, you can't say anything against the parliament because you're saying it against democracy. Hey, guys, you know what? You're sitting in the parliament, please go read the constitution. Right? Go read the constitution and then re-examine what you said.
Right. Certain things are taken for granted which are being busted.
Yeah. So the great thing was, at that time I was using new media to provoke old media, then who would come back to me and say, what did you mean? Will you come and say it?
Why does old media need to be provoked? I mean, why is it that they will not challenge status quo unless they're pushed to it? Why do you think that is?
Because they're gatekeepers. That's the whole thing. You see, they're like censors of themselves. So there's a censor board which says, you, the community, doesn't know what is good for you, and therefore we will tell you what's good for you.
Newspapers and channels take on that mantle.
Yeah, they take on that mantle because they've become their own censors. Now, the assumption that the community doesn't have any way to express itself, or an organic way where the solution comes organically through the community, that's new media, social media, and that's what they fear. So records become a hit because they put out free, and out of them they come out. So somebody creates a record, an album. Rahman creates he hasn't done it, he should. Puts out an album, and people love it or hate it, and then suddenly it becomes #1 in social media in consumption.
I read about a woman who had put her book out. It was rejected by publishers. She put it out for 99 cents, and it sold millions.
So the fear is, so the music company says, then who are we in this equation? You aren't.
So it challenges the commerce.
It challenges gatekeeping. It increases commerce. It challenges old forms of commerce, but brings in a new form of commerce, because ultimately what is commerce? What was the Great Silk Road? Except people trying to connect to each other, and it increased trade. Trade increased commerce. Commerce increased technology. Technology increases commerce, and it creates wealth. What is social media doing? It's connectivity. It's the instantaneous Great Silk Road.